Okay, welcome guys. So if you're watching this video right now, it really means that you guys are ready for the hunt. You guys are ready for the chase. This is a pretty big one. We've talked about these same couple dates before, but it's been a long time. Probably 10 years plus that we've talked about the 1968, 1969, 1970 Jefferson Nichols. There's a reason why we're talking about it. It's the pursuit of full steps examples. Quite scarce, quite unnerving. You're going to pull your hair out, but boy, when you do find one, it's going to be epic. It's probably going to be the very thing that defines you in your life. It's finding one of these. One day in particular that we talked about long time ago, there were none in existence in full steps. I hate to break it to you guys. It's still the same 10 years later. And we're going to talk about the state. What kind of spurned this conversation here today on this video is this coin right here. 1968S Jefferson Nickel, sold on Great Collections this past weekend. Boy, oh boy. I've been looking forward to talking about one of these coins. It's been a very long time since we've even sniffed any one of what I call the Power 3. Some would make the argument that the 52, 53, and 54 S Mint coins comparatively are a lot tougher, if not tougher. But the only thing that levels the playing field here, believe it or not, is 1970. 1970, I'm not saying it's easier to find full steps, well-struck examples. You're still going to have a heck of a time trying to find those, but there are more in existence compared to 68, 69. This is a trio of dates, ladies and gentlemen, that, for about the last 3 decades, it's become quite the feeding frenzy. A lot of original BU inventory out there, BU rolls, BU singular coins. They're pretty rough, man. They've all been hunted through. We're assuming they've been hunted through. Let's put it that way. Fully original rolls are few and far between out there in today's society. If you're lucky enough to know someone that has original bank-wrapped rolls of any of these dates, I could not help but maybe salivate at the thought, the imagination of the possibilities of going through those rolls. That's going to be kind of your best bet. Is it the absolute finite solution here? No, absolutely not. There's probably other ways to find these coins, but your best bet is to look through large quantities of them. The same way that we would play the Powerball lottery. You're going to have a better shot at winning it playing one line of numbers or playing 100 lines of numbers. The odds are just with you the more numbers you play. The odds are just more with you the more coins you go through. So this bad boy right here, 1968S Jefferson Nickel, $8,800. I mean, mic drop. Enough said. Mid-State 66 plus full steps by PCGS. This thing is, it's a wildfire. This coin, man, is, to some of us out there, it doesn't look like a whole heck of a lot. When we think about nickels, last thing we ever thought was, 1968, 1969 are valuable. In a vacuum, they're really not. Especially the circulated ones. Oftentimes, they're just worth 5 cents. But if we're talking about, the premium with nickel and copper and all that stuff, they're probably worth more like 7 cents. But numismatically, these coins, don't seem very special at first glance. The quality during this time, 1960s was kind of an extraordinary decade. One of the big things that some of us remember, if some of you were still around during this time, Was the end of the silver era. 1964 was the last year. Things just kind of changed. It changed for the better. I'm assuming from the Federal Reserve's point of view, because they're not spending nearly as much to obtain silver to create coins. It used to be, back in the day, hundreds of years ago, as far as like maybe 200 years ago, the amount of silver that they put in coins has everything to do intrinsically with the face value of the coin. Like let's say a 10-cent dime, they would put 10 cents worth of silver. At the time, it made sense. Silver today, ladies and gentlemen, $44 an ounce. It's crazy. We're hitting new highs. The market in itself is turning over a new leaf, probably because of silver and gold and the whole kind of like the gravitational pull factor. It's like the moon and the earth kind of like tugging at each other, creating large tidal waves, These are still a challenge today. They're even more of a challenge today than they were 10 years ago, because when I brought it up, there were actually people hunting for these. There's not so much in the way of original inventory today. Assuming that maybe 90% of whatever existing BU roll inventory has been searched through. Because we're looking at these as if, like the baby boomer era, those folks getting a lot older had sold out of their collections the last 10 years, including some of the more kind of ho-hum type coins, BU rolls of specific dates like this, 1970s coins, things like that. But a lot of baby boomers that did collect back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, they're cashing out today because the market's just too good. And, well, at the end of it all, they can't take this with them when they finally decide to go to, what's the word, Valhalla. But for us here, we've been left with the daunting task of trying to find one of these. And if you're able to find one, it's quite significant. As you can tell, this is a gigantic sum of cash right here for this one singular coin. Okay. To help put it into perspective, PCGS Population Report, which is very easily accessible on our website, tells everything that you need to know. Because it looks like these numbers have not changed in 10 plus years since I've last done this video. 1960 AD right here in full steps, because all we care about are the FS coins, where you have fully defined steps on the reverse on Monticello. All right, scroll all the way to the right. 1 in 64, 1 in 65, a total pop count of 2 with full steps across all grades. That has been one of the crazy rarities. All right, that 1968S that we just saw sold on Great Collections, the next line down here in full steps. Well, there's some numbers here. I could only imagine how much that coin would be if it was like 1 or 2, much like 68D. But that Mid-State 66 Plus, look at this. That's the top pop. That's the highest known grade example of a 68S that we saw sold on Great Collections over the weekend. 4 and 66. Not a whole lot of them. Total pop count, 25. All right, here's where it gets really, really zany. 1969. It has to be the trophy year out of the 3 dates. 1969D with full steps, as you can see right here where my mouse pointer is. One singular lonesome coin in Mid-State 65 full steps. Ever graded. Pop count of 1. Because they only do full steps on mid-state graded coins. They don't do that on XF and AU because, at that point they've been subjective to circulation wear, which kind of just disqualifies the full strike factor. I can only imagine how much that one singular coin is worth in today's market. Some have speculated $50,000 to $60,000. Some have even speculated as high as $100,000 plus. What kind of price tag do you put on a one of one coin? That's essentially what the 69D full stepper is. It's a one of one because there's only one graded. Now, what we didn't take into account is NGC grades as well. There might be one or two or a couple through NGC as well, because they grade on a curve of 5 full steps and 6 full steps independently. Of course, the 6 full steps people take a little bit more seriously, and they're paying more for those than they are the 5 full steps. 5 full steps is more or less a consolation prize for anyone that's, attempting this insanity. So 69D with full steps, only one of. Here's where it gets crazy. Remember when I prefaced this earlier in the show? I told you guys that there is one specific coin where no full steps examples exist. That's the 1969S. They are doing PL, proof-like. Guess what? There's only one graded in PL. But as you can see, they didn't even have a full steps line for 69S. Because, ladies and gentlemen, there have been none that have ever been discovered. I would love to be a fly on the wall for the person that did find the very first one in 69S full steps. Only one with the PL designation, proof-like, in Mid-State 65. That coin in itself, I'm sure, is crazy. 1970, a little bit more normalcy here, sort of. 1970D. There's something about the Denver coins that just strike me as odd. Because quality control apparently was not all that great at the Denver Mint facility. But that doesn't seem like good old regular Denver Mint mentality. They've always been known to have the best quality coins out of any U.S. Mint facility. Well, as it turned out, back in the 70s, 1970 specifically, 70D full stepper, there's 1, 2, 3 of them. Pop 3. Highest grade, Mid-State 66. Call it like it is. That's probably a $20,000 coin. If the 68S full stepper is $8,800 and there's like 25 of them across all grade levels, a Pop 3 with a highest grade of 66 has to be $20,000. I might be wrong, but and of course, the one that's a little bit more obtainable to find out there, I don't know if that's the case. I think this is more of a case of, the quality is starting to get just a shade better here. 1970S full steps, as you can see, 106 total graded with full steps. Mid-State 66 being the best with a pop count of 13. All right, so some of you are going to ask me, well, Sean, where in the blue hell do I find these things, right? Because it's not as easy as, say, going to your local banking institution and really taking a gamble at buying rolls of nickels in the hopes of finding a BU any one of these dates, 68, 69, or 70. But even if you found a BU one, there's this microscopic percentage that it might have full steps. 5 or 6 full steps is what's required for PCGS to attribute them with the full steps moniker right on the label. So 5 or 6. So whatever which one. But if we were going to kind of do our research, I think the collective best bet is, to look locally for these things and not try and batten down the hatches on eBay, hanging around trying to look for original bank wrapped sealed rolls of these things, because you're going to be waiting a while. So here's some realized sales of full rolls. Now, the rolls that aren't bank wrap sealed, I would probably 100% avoid them. Okay. There is the whole matter of sealed equity and all that stuff. And sure, it might make for a little bit of a feel-good kind of story if you're hoarding some of these rolls. But so long as they're not original bank wrapped, sealed, unsearched, just assume that there's really nothing in there other than really nice, 1968 Jefferson nickels. 13.99 for it's a full roll of 40 in a tube. So obviously they've probably been searched through. Here's another one here, 60 AD in a tube for $21.99. Still not cheap, $2 in nickels for $22, 11 times face value seems pretty pricey. Boom, 60 AD, OBW, old bank wrap roll, BU uncirculated Jefferson nickels. See the premium that you would pay for something like that with outside lottery kind of odds of finding full steps on any of those. You're going to be paying a huge premium. But just understand, the moment that you crack that roll open and you look through all the coins, you can't reverse that. You're going to have to put them in a tube, and your $50 investment for, kind of like a looky-see is now all of a sudden worth about $20. So you're going to lose value the moment that you open up the rolls to look for some of these coins. So please understand that this is not a game to be kind of playing with here. Yeah, you have to understand the repercussions that if you do buy BU rolls in any capacity and you're paying full market for them, the moment you open them, just like driving that brand new fresh car off the lot, that thing loses a ton of value. $50.50. That's a huge premium to incur just so it would kind of quench your curiosity. Here's a couple more rolls, although these look like they've been hunted through. They did buy it now. It's $12.50. Just looking at this one here, that reverse, that thing is squishy. Very, very, very poor strike there. Here's an abundance of lots, 1968S. I'm willing to bet this guy right here probably was looking for full steps. Had a whole bunch of rolls that they had bought either locally or online, and now they're trying to recoup, and they ended up selling 25 rolls for $200. Not quite $10 per roll, so it's probably more like $8 per roll. As a matter of fact, that's exactly what it is, $8 per roll. And I'm assuming that Euclid took a huge hit. But hopefully Euclid found something in there to hang their hat on. Partial roll, coin pulled from a BU roll. 40 coins here, $11, so on and so forth. You guys get the big idea. Jefferson nickel roll, BU uncirculated gem, US mint, 40 coins, $20. This one looks a modern manufactured, put together roll. They didn't have this NF String and Son style newer paper roll back in 1968. You're going to have like First National Bank of San Francisco or New York or whatever for those older rolls, So, big, deep sigh right there, because I look at this and I'm like, things can go wrong so quickly here. Spending and pouring good money into bad, at the chance of trying to find one of these full steppers. Once you dive in, ladies and gents, you're kind of all in. There's no turning back. 1969, a rare bird of a year, both in Denver and San Francisco. Nickel sealed original, one owner, collection of rolls, 69S, $34.99. Yikes. Yeah, add in the $5 delivery shipping in there, it's actually $40 is your investment. But there should not be a whole lot here. 69D, $13. It's loose though. It's a loose roll. Another loose roll here, 69S. 69S. So that's APMEX, APMEX. So the people are selling them for this cheap. They're not a useless coin, but they've been hunted through. These have been passed around like a peace pipe, probably 4 or 5 times, among registry set, people that are trying to find the coins themselves and are having a heck of a time to do so. 1970, Looks like there's some Canadian mixed in here as well, so please understand that. 1970D Jefferson nickel roll, 40 pieces BU, loose. Let's see, $17.95 plus $5.02 delivery. Let's see if we have anything juicy in here. I mean, the amount of lots is really, really tremendously light. It's scary because there were more of these 10 years ago that you could possibly take a flyer on, and they were cheaper back then. The BU roll market right now is evolving. I'm not saying that rising tides are raising all the ships at this point, but there are certain select dates that are gaining a lot more attention and are commanding much more higher premiums because of certain variables, like full step rarities, or maybe it's a date where you could find a specific mid-air or things of that nature. Is really what drives the value of these. 4 Jefferson nickel rolls, various dates, but they've all been cracked open. You can see the masking tape on there. As old as it is, they've been hunted through. 70D Jefferson nickels, 1650. That looks promising, but we don't know. There's a Provident National Bank. I told you so. All the national banks have something going for it. Best offer accepted there. But you can see, you're going to end up spending some money here, guys, in the hopes of finding full steps. And at the same vein, there's not a whole lot to kind of pull from online. It's every time I look at listings, it's like been ran through, nothing been found in there. And that's how you kind of have to be, a little bit deliberate when you're looking for these, and assume that every single roll, every single coin has been hunted through. Again, it's a feeding frenzy. It's no big secret, PCGS website and the population reports and price guides is public information for everyone. And there are people in this hobby that constantly go on there. When is that first, 1969S full stepper gonna show up? And it hasn't. And people have been waiting on the wings every single week for the last 15 years in the hopes of finding that first one that does surface. And then at that point, we're all kind of speculating what the value is. The 69S full steps, if it's something that even remotely exists, maybe there are none, but if there was one that ended up getting graded with full steps, speculation, $80,000 to $100,000 for that one singular coin. It's going to be the rarest Jefferson nickel that's not a 1964 SMS. It's quite extraordinary. So, my question to you, each and every single one of you listening, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for the hunt? Because, eventually there will be another one that will be found. Obviously we had the 68S on Great Collections was yet again another example that was found. It graded out extraordinarily high, and it popped a huge price tag, but it's one of the higher population full steps coins of this trio kind of god tier, little range. So, that's going to go ahead and do it. I wanted to let you guys know that I'll be live on Whatnot. Ironically, we're going to have some BU rolls for sale. I think it's more Lincoln Cents than anything else. We haven't had BU rolls in quite a while. And it's going to be nice to have some new fresh inventory available tonight. Now, we're going to be on at 6:30 Pacific Standard Time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a show week. We have a 3-day show here in Northern California. Sign up today. You could use the links down in the description box, or it'll also be pinned in the comment section of this video. Sign up under me today. You get $15 off your very first item. It could be a BU roll of 1969S Lincoln Jefferson nickels. Who knows? By the way, I don't have any of these BU rolls. I haven't had any of these in a long, long time because I know how tough they are to find. And I'm not looking to buy them off of eBay. Yeah, because I have my stigmatized beliefs that they've all been hunted through. But I hope you guys got some takeaways from this one. This is not an easy task. I'm not saying that it's been highly neglected at all, because a lot of people in the Jefferson nickel community are very aware of this trio of dates in the late '60s. That's been the kind of like the hunt, the treasure hunt of sorts, and it comes with a possibly high rewards tier, like ungodly 5 to 6 figures kind of rewarding, if you were able to find it and grade it, and it comes back in full steps. I'm your host, Sean with Blue Ridge Silverhound. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Keep on collecting, my friends. Come join us on Whatnot later tonight. It's going to be a fun show. We're going to have a show tomorrow and a show on Saturday as well, for the Sacramento Valley Coin Club show. So we're going to have all sorts of type coins, all sorts of great stuff, lots of great giveaways. You're not going to want to miss it. All right, I'm out of here. Look for some of these nickels, and if you get one graded and it comes back full steps, I want to know about it. At the very least, I want a little credit. Say, hey, Sean got me to this, or whatever. And I hope everyone finds their piece of treasure that they like. That's all that matters, too, is enjoy the hobby. All right, I'll see you guys later.